My name is Els Vanbeckevoort. I'm the CEO at SanEcoTec and co-founder.
I'm Jim Shubat. I'm the co-founder and CTO at SanEcoTec Limited.
SanEcoTec is a water clean tech company, in short. So it started out with a vision that healthy water can change the world. We've done some interesting innovations. We're looking at water quality outside of the paradigm of what's always been there. And so we're trying to come up with innovative solutions to deal with some of the most pressing water issues of our time. I think water is taken for granted, and that's generally the problem. It's undervalued, and so that's kind of the backdrop to all of this.
My previous work in Europe, and seeing how they appreciate water. They have, water costs are probably at least two times what they are here in Canada. And so they appreciate water, they recycle water, you don't just use it one time and put it down the drain.
There's lots of water infrastructure issues as well. Like this country alone, I think it needs $120 billion just to maintain the current water infrastructure. So, worldwide it's trillions of dollars. And so it's a serious issue. It's just not necessarily at the forefront of everybody's mind because, we turn on the tap, the water comes out and everybody's good to go. But those people that are using water as part of their process, they're much more aware sometimes of the real needs or the challenges that come with it.
There are challenges as you go to reuse water, and water at temperature, which could be anywhere from 25 to 35 degrees Celsius. It's the perfect temperature to grow a huge amount of bacteria and biofilm and things like that.
Water treatment is one of the most important utilities that we have, but at the same time, it's kind of slow moving because it's also driven by regulations. And so regulations in many jurisdictions are prescriptive rather than outcome-based. And so because they're not outcome-based, you're kind of stifling innovation and you're also not necessarily progressing in the way that you should. The issues are real, though, with respect to emerging contaminants, emerging pathogens, antibiotic resistance, climate change.
What can we do to overcome some of those jurisdictional differences that you see in Europe compared to North America? In Europe, the way that swimming pools are managed, the rules and regulations are completely different than the way that we manage pools here in North America. And that's a real problem because in general terms, swimming is such a healthy activity, but being in a swimming pool in North America may not be the healthiest thing for you. And that's not a good thing. In Europe, there's a lot more regulations with respect to chlorine and how much chlorine and disinfection byproducts allowed in the water, and those always come when you're using chlorine as a disinfectant. Canada, North America in general, we just have no regulations with respect to that. And that's a problem. It's a problem because I want to have my kids enjoying a healthy experience in a pool. We take for granted this resource that we have, a lion's share of the world's.
Because it's ubiquitous, because it's everywhere, because we've got 20% of the world's fresh water, we're not maybe aware of it in the way that perhaps we should be. And as we're talking with more stakeholders, like slowly but surely, for example, Canada's moving to a national water policy, which never existed before. So there's definitely movement in the right direction. And so there have been some people that we've met who are part of those regulatory bodies who have vision for making positive changes, but it's very difficult because it's so prescriptive. You can't kind of go outside of that. So one of the things that we've learned over the last 8 years as we've been actually doing some very large pilot projects and kind of turning water treatment on its head a little bit and doing things very differently is that you can't push a rope up a hill. It's not possible. So for us, from a business perspective and from an application perspective, I think we've had to come up with a scalable model that enables us to help as many people as we can without necessarily having to be responsible solely for moving those regulations in a new direction. So all the learning that we've done in some of those very large municipal pilot projects where, you know, the regulations are, of course, the most prescriptive and the most stringent, have been extremely helpful for us to be able to, you know, to overcome some of the challenges and also to do a lot of the learning that was necessary to say, okay, we can work outside of a paradigm that's, you know, different and gives us better outcomes at the end of the day. So also the slow adoption of new technology, I guess, within the context of what people are used to, is often, you know, okay, well, we've always used chlorine, so we're going to use chlorine. But once you start to approach this in a scientific and a data-driven way, people start to realize, oh, actually, you know, there's a lot that I don't know. There's an educational piece, I think, also here that is a barrier that I think we've been able to overcome by creating a water health course and giving some empowerment to stakeholders so that they will see, you know, what is the potential upside of water. Like it's not just a commodity. In fact, it isn't a commodity, it's a precious resource, but it's not just a conveyor system for nutrients in agriculture, for example. There's actually an upside. It has a huge system of benefits if you start looking at it outside of the context of, okay, this is what we've always done. Your outcomes can be much improved economically, environmentally, and from a health perspective. Being humble is realizing that, you know, there's a lot that we don't know. Water is very complex and challenging. And so I think one of the good things that we've done as an organization is to surround ourselves with people, stakeholders, who help us to broaden our understanding and our ability to identify the issues and also where we can bring solutions to bear. I think that that's critical. Also as a team, internally and externally with our clients, that we're humble and that we're, you know, not going to over promise and under deliver, right? So that we want to be, you know, transparent with them and go on this journey together. It is important that, you know, we're smart, meaning that's not just intelligence, but also emotional intelligence, that we have wisdom, that we understand that, you know, the knowledge that we're using, that we're going to use it in a way that applies to the real world, that has true value to the client. So we translate it in that way. It's how we interact with each other, but it's also how we interact with the customer and also with our suppliers. Hungry, of course, is absolutely necessary so that, you know, just keep putting one foot in front of the other and not giving up and holding on to that bigger vision, which is so important, so that, you know, you have the perseverance and the persistence to be able to keep moving forward. So that vision should never be lost, and in fact, it should be clarified and enhanced as you learn through your humility, as you learn along the way. You're going to be able to, you know, keep that going and making sure that in the end, you know, we'll be successful, and our clients will be successful, and our partners or suppliers will be successful.
It's not an easy journey. It's the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, and the work is extremely rewarding. But it is not for the faint of heart.
But I think that you live up to those standards. I see in the FYELABS team an openness to listen, to learn, to want to hear us, which I think is absolutely critical when you're partnering with a supplier. I think there is also a hunger with you guys to make a difference in those companies that you're partnering with. I think that's very obvious, and I think in general, your team has good smarts, not just big brains, which you have, but also the emotional intelligence to try and meet your clients where they're at. You know?